Hey everybody, I'm Doug, that's Connor, and this is a special episode of the Bethel School District Presents podcast. Tax season is officially behind us now, and whether you're rolling in your returns or, like me, redoing your W-4, we thought it'd be a good time to talk about what exactly your local school taxes are paying for. Now, everybody knows local schools are funded by tax dollars, but did you know that schools aren't fully funded by our state? That is true. It's only 78% of our school district's budget comes from state funding. Another 10% comes from federal dollars, and about 12% comes from our local educational programs and operations levy called the EP&O levy. So first off, thank you, voters. And second, Connor, why don't you walk us through what the EP&O levy actually supports?
Sure thing, Doug. And the first thing we got to know is that our 4-year EP&O levy has been an absolutely crucial part of the district's budget for decades. It was last renewed by voters in 2022, and the EP&O levy helps pay for critical things like special education programs and extra transportation costs. Just two examples of the items the state does not fully fund.
And let me jump in before you get to the detailed list of what it supports. You may be wondering why the state isn't fully funding schools. Well, state funding is actually based on an outdated funding formula. All districts in Washington need to employ more teachers and staff than the formula actually pays for. That's why we need local levies and have needed local levies for decades to help support the appropriate number of staff and teachers.
Yes, indeed. The EP&O levy ensures that every student in our district has access to high-quality teaching and learning, including positions not fully funded by the state. It also funds professional development for our teachers and curricular programs. It also supports the safety and well-being of students through school nurses, counselors, campus safety, and school resource officers. The levy also helps fund student programs like special education, STEM programs, advanced placement classes, intervention classes, as well as band, theater, music, athletics, and intramurals, and after-school activities. In addition to that, it funds operational needs such as transportation, custodial, maintenance, and operational costs. So, in short, almost everything gets touched by this levy.
Absolutely, and as you can probably guess, a lot of staff positions are supported by the EP&O levy. In fact, 98% of the EP&O levy pays for salaries and benefits for positions the state underfunds. And while we're talking about the levy, we have to talk about the impact it has to local taxpayers. So Connor, how much does the EP&O levy actually cost our taxpayers?
Well, that's a great question. And while the state allows districts to collect $2.50 per $1,000 of assessed value when it comes to EP&O levies, here in Bethel, we're only collecting $1.85 per $1,000 of assessed value.
That's right. And when you throw in our technology capital levy, we still don't even get to that $2.50 mark. The technology capital levy costs taxpayers 26 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. And Connor, let's talk a little bit about the technology capital levy.
Yeah, and it's been a massive success for us. The tech levy actually supports some staff as well, including tech support and some of our teachers on special assignments, or TOSAs as we call them. But the bulk of it goes towards infrastructure and instructional devices for our students themselves.
Yeah, thanks to our technology capital levy, each student in our district has access to an iPad, educational software, and classroom audiovisual equipment to help make learning accessible and engaging.
But without good infrastructure, those iPads wouldn't be very useful. The technology capital levy also pays for our internet and Wi-Fi systems, our data center and servers, hardware, software, mobile hotspots, and the critically important internet security.
Absolutely. Keeping kids safe is our top priority here in Bethel. Did you know that we're one of the only districts in Washington state to have implemented two-factor authentication for all of our staff and our students? Along with teaching good digital citizenship, that is one way we're working hard to keep kids safe online.
We sure are, and one of the confusing things for many parents is knowing the difference between a bond and a levy. So Doug, give us the simple one sentence that's going to clear this whole thing up for our community.
I don't know, I'm feeling a little verbose today. I don't know if I can break it down to just one sentence, but I'll give it a shot. Bonds are for building, levies are for learning.
They sure are. Well, let's talk a little bit about our successful 2019 school construction bond and all the amazing things that is already doing in our district.
It is doing incredible things. 3 huge projects are already complete. Catherine G. Johnson Elementary School, the new Natchez Trail Elementary School, and Expedition Elementary School. Thank you, voters. 3 huge projects already done.
Yeah, and in the works right now are 3 other massive projects: the new Bethel High School, Evergreen Elementary expansion and remodeling, and the brand new Cedar Crest Middle School. And you can follow the progress of all of these exciting projects at bethelsd.org/bond. And Doug actually had a chance to sit down with our Director of Construction and Planning, Sarah Kochi, to learn more about these exciting projects.
Sarah, last I saw you, we were on site at the New Bethel High School for the topping out ceremony. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, so the topping out ceremony is a really exciting milestone for the project. That is when the all of the structural steel has been erected. And so the major building components are in place for us to get going on the rest of the work.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I mean, there was a huge crowd there to watch, and there was a red, white, and blue piece of painted structural steel that was lifted up by crane, and people can actually see that in the new edition of the Bethel Pride magazine. So that was a really fun event, and we haven't seen something like that here in the district recently.
Yeah, that's because our New Bethel High School project is our first all-steel project as part of the bond package. So it's a really exciting opportunity. It's a good time for the contractor and all of the team members working on the project to get together and to celebrate a big milestone.
Awesome, and that project is scheduled to be completed in 2026, so just next year. Over to Evergreen Elementary School, the remodernization and expansion of that school is well underway and is scheduled to be completed this fall. Tell us about what's going on over there.
Yeah, Evergreen has tremendous progress since we've last met. We have completed all of the interior spaces. We have finishes going on in the building, including paint, flooring, vinyl wall coverings. We have our off-site roadwork construction going on, and it's really starting to take shape out there. It's looking really, really fabulous.
That's great to hear, and we have drone footage of all these projects on our YouTube channel that you can see. And one thing about those, they show the outside. We haven't really seen inside Evergreen yet. Have you been over there to walk the halls?
Yeah, absolutely. We're there at least twice a week, and it's looking really good. It's really starting to take shape. We're really proud of this project because while it's an existing building and it's a modernization, I assure everyone that when they walk through the doors of Evergreen this fall, that is going to feel like a brand new space.
Well, coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking with Hans Nelson, principal at Cedar Crest Middle School, and he's excited about their brand new school. Let's talk about that project.
Yeah, Cedar Crest is a really exciting project. We're super thrilled that this is going to be a replacement school rather than modernization addition. We're thrilled to be offering around 121,000 square feet for these students. We're going to be building this school to house future 850 students. And we have just completed our design documents for the project, and we hope to go into permits at the county over this summer and get into construction at the end of the school year 2026.
2026, just next summer. That's going to be fantastic. Really quick, we know that the students at Cedar Crest will then be moving to the old Bethel High School because New Bethel High School will be open. It's a lot of shifting parts here. Talking about the Cedar Crest project, what kind of classroom space are we looking at?
Yeah, so we're excited that we're going to have 32 new classrooms total. That includes 3 SPED classrooms, 4 CTE classrooms, and 3 music classrooms. We've also integrated a student support center, 3 group spaces, and a makerspace and an art lab.
That's awesome. And I've heard the library is going to have the best view in town.
It sure is. Right now, Cedar Crest does not have a view from the first floor of the building, but because we are going to be building up on this project, we are going to now have a great view of Mount Rainier from that library window and also the staff lounge.
You almost forget about that view. It's always so gray around here. I walked out of Cedar Crest the other day and the mountain's just right there. So really excited for the staff and students there. Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, we just want to, thank the community and our voters out there for all of their tremendous support as we've worked through each of these projects. We are really, really excited with the work that we have done and the work that is yet to come.
Yeah, that Cedar Crest project sounds exciting, and who better to speak with about it than Principal Hans Nelson? Doug had a chance to do just that.
Well, I'm here at Cedar Crest Middle School with Principal Hans Nelson. Hans, thanks for taking a couple minutes to talk about the new Cedar Crest Middle School.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This has been a long time coming, and there's been all kinds of ways this is going to go down. In fact, it was originally going to be a modernization, and now it's going to be a complete rebuild. So there's a lot of pieces to this. Let's start with, why do we need a new Cedar Crest?
Oh, boy. Well, just to start from the beginning, you've got a 40-year-old building that I think, 40 years ago was probably designed to the best of what we knew how to do for schools. And education has changed significantly in the last 40 years. Just the ability to go design a space that is designed for intentional learning, that is designed for student success, that's designed in a way that will make our community feel proud about the space that we're offering to them on a daily basis. And that's what it's time for.
I think that's fantastic. What are some of the hurdles you have to overcome here on a daily basis with the building as it is right now?
Yeah, there's some tricky pieces. And so one of the pieces from an administrative lens, I think a lot about supervision and student safety.
Right, of course.
So we've got just kind of strange pillars and structures that show up in funny places in the building that make it difficult to have a clear line of sight through the hallways and through our cafeteria. And so simple things like taking some of those structures out allows you to supervise more adequately and provide a safer space for kids. So those are some of the things we're excited about with a new building. The opportunity to redesign a cafeteria space that's big enough to really house our kids. We're tight right now using all of the floor space of our cafeteria as well as the stage space for all 3 lunches that we run.
Wow.
And we make do. That's kind of been the trend at Cedar Crest, is we're making do. We also know that make and do is not good enough for our kids, so we need to do something different. The last piece that I know our staff is just so excited about, we're really working to reduce, if not completely eliminate, interior classrooms that don't have any windows. Something simple like daylight becomes a bit of a currency amongst our staff as they jockey and position for, well, can I have this room? Or next year I heard this teacher might be leaving, so can I get a room with a small window? Our current setup, we've got one small window in our exterior classrooms, and then we have a number of interior classrooms that don't have any daylight. So with our early start times and sometimes with how late teachers are staying, they'll go through the month of December and not see daylight during the week.
Yeah, that's rough. Especially here in the Pacific Northwest. It gets dark early and it stays that way in the winter months.
Absolutely. So we're just thrilled about the idea of having some sunlight come through our hallways.
Once the construction is ready to start on Cedar Crest, your students and your staff are going to be moving to the old Bethel High School. Old Bethel High students, of course, going to the new Bethel High School in the fall of 2026. And then we can start on Cedar Crest Middle School. Have you already started conversations on how that's going to look, having all the middle school kids in that high school?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel so fortunate. Our capital projects team that oversees the construction planning and the logistics around all of this work has been so great in partnering with me and really setting me up for success as a building leader to put plans in place and make sure we're in front of all the logistical pieces that need to happen. And so, it was several months ago, they got me schematics to Bethel High School and walked me around the building and said, okay, let's start wrapping your head around how you're going to use this space and maximize it for a middle school that's significantly smaller than Bethel High School. You have almost 2,000 students at Bethel High School, and we're just 750. So I have to be really strategic about how we use that space.
Right. A lot of options out there.
Yeah. So we're starting to think through not just how to use the physical space, but also what does the timing need to look like. You're going to have 2 middle schools that are right next door to each other. So figuring out logistics around timing so that both sites are successful and putting communication systems in place early so that we can communicate when we need to. And all the logistical pieces are well in play. And then on top of that, the fun part for me is really thinking about how do we rebrand Old Bethel High School as new Cedar Crest Middle School or temporary Cedar Crest Middle School.
Right.
And really bring our Charger pride and our Charger theme into that space so that even though we're in a high school building facility, it feels like a middle school and it feels like Cedar Crest's second home for a little bit.
I love that all that planning is going on behind the scenes already. We're very early in 2025 here, and so that's fantastic. Of course, Evergreen will be moving back to their building. They branded their way. They're glamping at the Old Natchez
Yes,
Trail
they
right
are.
now. So that was a fun way to do it. So I'm really excited to really see you guys just continue to succeed here at Cedar Crest with all the awesome programs you have. You'll continue when you're in Old Bethel High, and then once you're back here in the brand new building, the sky's the limit.
I think it's going to be really something our community can be proud of. That's what I'm looking most forward to. Our community seeing this new space for the first time.
Well, Hans Nelson, principal here at Cedar Crest Middle School, thanks for joining us.
Well, it's great to hear from Hans on that. So the big question, Doug, though, is we're rounding home base on our 2019 bond. Is there going to be another bond in the future?
Are we rounding home? I feel like maybe we're getting closer to second, safe slide right in.
I've never actually seen a baseball game, so I don't know what that metaphor means.
Well, the question still stands. Will there be another bond in the future? And I've got news for everybody. This is another thing the state does not fully fund is school construction. In fact, they won't pitch in a dime until local voters say that there is a need. And then there's something called state match that kicks in. But that's not exactly a match. We can talk about that at a later time. It's less than a match for sure. So local voters need to decide what's important to them. During the 2023-24 school year, our district actually convened a facility advisory committee to look into the needs of our district. The committee was made up of parents, community members, local business owners, school and district staff, as well as school board members.
So the facility advisory committee studied and evaluated the overall condition of the district's facilities and needs for projected growth. The final committee recommendations included a new elementary school, expansion modernization of 5 other schools, security and safety improvements, as well as field, turf, and track improvements.
Now, those were the recommendations of the committee, and they were given to the school board. The school board continues to explore the committee's recommendations, and those will become the basis of any possible capital levy or bond measure that may be necessary to accommodate the projected growth, safety and security, and or athletic improvements for our students.
So the question is, what's next? And in 2026, both of our EP&O levy and our technology capital levy will expire. These levies are on a 4-year cycle, and as we've already discussed, they are absolutely critical to funding our district. Voters have renewed the EP&O levy every 4 years for decades now, and they've also renewed the technology capital levy every 4 years since it was first put to voters in 2014. Pending school board approval, both of these levies are expected to be on the ballot in 2026.
And prior to that, our school board wants to ensure that our voters are well informed about both of our levies because of their impact on local voters, as well as any future bond considerations. So they've been having regular public study sessions about the levies, as well as future bond possibilities. And you can learn more, watch those study sessions, and read up at bethelsd.org/levy. Well, Connor, there's a lot of information in there for folks, and we are going to be talking more about levies and bonds as we go forward. But until next week, I think we're going to call it a wrap.
Sounds good, Doug. We will be back next week with a brand new episode.